Wild and shocking revelations are being made at the ongoing public viewing of the documentary on judges and judicial staff receiving bribes. But Justice Derry and his team have vowed to go to the Supreme Court to file a fresh case, indicating airing the video will provide them with a better case. But the screening came off as planned at the Accra International Conference Centre despite several court cases that characterize it. People from all walks of life joined long queues earlier at the conference center to catch a glimpse of the video. Earlier today, one of the indicted High Court judges, Justice Derry, who filed a writ to prevent the public viewing of the video, withdrew the interlocutory injunction, but the conference center venue for the premiering was today served with an injunction not to allow the screening to be done there. The case itself has been adjourned to the 13th of next month, by which date the premiering will have been done. So why has Justice Derry withdrawn the injunction application? What does this mean to the cases pending in court? And how does the screening affect those cases? We'll find out shortly on today's big story. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. The video showing 12 High Court judges, 22 Circuit Court judges and magistrates, as well as court officials and police officers allegedly taking bribes to set free rapists, murderers and armed robbers, amongst others, is currently being shown at the conference center. Meanwhile, an application for interlocutory injunction on the public screening of the video by Justice Paul Derry was withdrawn this morning. Lawyer for Anas, Kisia Jabing, who suspects foul play, says as far as his client is concerned, he has not been served with any process. Even though the Accra International Conference Center, where the video is being premiered, has been served with the writ of sermon, the premiering is still ongoing. Mr. Jabing maintains his client has a contract with the conference center for the premiering, in fact booked and paid for, so the center couldn't have flouted the agreement. Well, before we get into the matter, let's listen to a lawyer for the lower court judges who are seeking for an injunction on the premiering.
No, why should it surprise us? I mean, it's within their right to do that. So, but because it's already before the court, we don't want to discuss its merits because we're prejudging matters. Yes, we were expecting to move our motion. They filed their papers late, so there's no problem. I mean, on Friday we'll come and move it.
Do you reckon that the time is sufficient for you to respond?
No, the rules would have allowed us to come on Monday, but because of the exigencies of the matter, we agreed to come on.
Of course, the AG was pushing that, you know, the matter be brought forward, that it should be heard earlier than the Friday. You were unhappy with that?
You served us at 9:15 this morning, and you ask us to come tomorrow to argue. I mean, it's not right. The rules say that you should give 3 clear days notice to the other side. And so we couldn't have been happy with the position she was taking. I mean, we are trying to do things according to the law. If there was a matter of deliberation in it, then it's from the Attorney General, because she filed her papers late. We have filed everything, and I urge the court to decide on the basis of the papers we had filed. But the rule is that if the other side doesn't file papers, they won't be heard. And then the question of natural justice will arise and so on. So I think that the court was minded to give them time so that they will serve us and we will respond and we will come and argue.
You took great issue with the fact that the AG's department had all the time to file it but decided to do so this very morning.
Yes.
Why so?
Because I've told you that, I mean, we are to be given, each side is to be given sufficient time to file their papers or prepare their case. We gave you 11 days for 8 days. And you come and spring documents on us at 9:15 a.m. this morning. Definitely it's unfair. So So if it is unfair, we should kick against it, shouldn't we?
Let's now get into the studio and speak with our man, Kwache Afre Nyama, who has been monitoring events at the court. Hello, Afre.
Aisha.
Quickly run us through what has been going on and what led to the withdrawal this morning.
Okay, so two things the High Court was expected to hear today, two cases. One has to do with the 14 out of the 22 lower court judges, talking about the circuit court judges and magistrates who filed a suit seeking to injunct the committee that has been set up by the Chief Justice to probe the corruption allegations against some of these judges. And the second one has to do with the lawyers for Justice Derry, High Court judges being implicated in this entire scandal, who, among others, is seeking that, or let me say, was seeking to place an injunction on the public premiering of this investigative piece by Anas Aremeyaw. Now, to the first one, which has now been withdrawn by lawyers for Justice Derry,
right.
It had to do with, as I mentioned earlier, the public premiering of the investigative piece. Now, what happened in court was that, first and foremost, his legal representatives, the man leading affairs in court for Justice Derry, Nipa Kwado, first withdrew the case withdrew the Attorney General's Department and the Chief Justice as defendants in this matter. Now, after that, the presiding judge, Gertrude Tokono, gave them two options, right, either to withdraw or move their motion. Okay. And this came up because the court wanted to sit on the matter today to make a definitive ruling on whether or not the investigative piece should be premiered today, because according to her, and quote unquote, if that was not done, the integrity of the court would be brought into question. Yeah. So the court took a 10-minute break. After the 10-minute break, the lawyers for Justice Derry came back and said that, well, they are withdrawing the case now. They are withdrawing this application for injunction. Right. But the interesting thing, and as you mentioned earlier, is that despite this withdrawal of the application for interlocutory injunction, right, they have now served the International Conference Center with a suit that would, seeks to prevent them from allowing the venue to be used as for this entire program. And what they are saying is that even though this particular matter did not come up in court today at the High Court today, right, by virtue of the fact that this is an issue pending before the High Court, right, if the Tiger IPI and authorities at the International Conference Center go ahead to show the video, it would amount to contempt of court. Okay. The second issue has to do with, as I mentioned earlier, the case of the 14 circuit court judges and magistrates who are pushing for the proceedings, investigating proceedings, to be halted. Okay. What has happened is that the Attorney General's Department has filed, an application seeking to nullify, asking the court essentially to quash this application because they say, quote unquote, it holds no merit and is frivolous on that score again. Okay. And so the court has set September 25th, that's Friday, a few days from now, to hear that particular application, and this is to provide time for legal representatives of the 14 judges, right, to look through those documents and file their responses as well. And interestingly, the interesting bit is that this is also the same day that the court has, the committee has said to continue with their proceedings, right, and this was because they wanted to know whatever decision the court will take on this injunction, so they'll know the way forward. Okay. We'll see how that pans up on Friday.
So is that the end of the matter?
Talking about
withdrawing the case means the matter is ended.
You're referring to
the video that's not supposed to be showed. Now that they've withdrawn that,
not at all. Today the hearing was simply on the application, on the injunction. In fact, Justice Derry has raised that issue in the race that he's filed in the court so far, about 3 of them. Okay. He talks about how Anas acquired his videos, for example, and other issues. Those substantive matters, the court is yet to sit on them.
Okay. So when next are they hearing the matter?
Well, on the matter concerning the 14 circuit court judges, the lower court judges, the court will hear that case on the 25th of December, as I mentioned. But specifically, the one that has to do with the International Conference Center and all that being injuncted from, you know, serving as venue for this particular premiere, the court is expected to sit on that case on the 13th of October.
Right. Many thanks to you, Afre. We'll be talking to you more when you go for that sitting, and then we'll know what happens next. But we know that a lot of issues have come up. And we know that Justice Derry and his team are saying that they're going to sue again, this time at the Supreme Court, and the reasons are that they are just allowing the video to be aired so that they can even have a better case. Well, whether they would have a better case or not, Malik Dab of the political desk, Joy News political desk, is joining us. He's been studying, and one of the matters they used is it Chum and who? Attorney General matter. That's about 5 years ago.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
On what basis are they saying this will give them a better
okay,
case?
Let's look at the background. When Anas compiled his video, the law requires him, the Constitution spells out the circumstances under which one can bring a case against a judge. Right. If you have a case against a High Court judge, the Constitution in Article 146 requires you to send a petition to the President. Okay. That petition will be forwarded to the Chief Justice by the President, right. And the Chief Justice will look into the complaints that you have filed against the justice in question and determine whether there is prima facie evidence against the person. Prima facie simply means on the face of the facts, the person has a case to answer. That's what it means. So what Anas did was send a petition to the President. The President forwarded that petition to the Chief Justice. The Chief Justice instituted a panel to establish prima facie case against the 12 High Court judges that were captured on this video, allegedly taking bribes. Now, you remember that when this matter came up, Justice Derry has filed an avalanche of cases at the High Court. Exactly. One of them, he was saying that, as Afred just said, he argued that the manner in which Anas collected the evidence that is being used against him was in violation of his fundamental right to privacy. Exactly. He also argued that the collection of the evidence was unlawful. And to that extent, the evidence cannot be allowed to be used against him in the impeachment proceedings being instituted by the Chief Justice. Okay. We know that he went to court seeking to stop Anas from premiering this video. Today, when the case was called in court, his lawyer refused to move a motion so that it will be heard. Right. If he had moved the motion, the judge who sat on the case, and remember that this is a Court of Appeal judge with additional responsibilities as a High Court judge. She has been empaneled by the Chief Justice to hear this matter. When the case came, he refused to move it because they had not served Taga IPI and Anas, because they said they couldn't find him. What they went to court to do was to move an ex parte motion. Ex parte simply means you have gone to court without the other side. Right. So he moved an ex parte motion asking the court to allow them to engage in what the lawyers call substituted services. Right. Substituted service means I'm supposed to bring you the service in person. Okay. If I cannot get you, the law should allow me to publish in the newspaper and be deemed to have been served. Okay. If I publish it, you'll be deemed to have been served. Right. So they withdrew their application for interlocutory injunction, and then they filed one against managers of the International Conference Center. Right. So, and that one will be heard on the 13th October. But when I spoke to the lawyer, what he told me was that by law, this operates to stop Anas from premiering this movie at the center. But the lawyer of Anas also says that there is a contract between Anas and the conference center. And so absolutely. If for him to breach that contract is also another, if you like, contempt. That's what Kisia Jabin said. Kisia Jabin said that they have a contract with the International Conference Center. The place was released to them for this purpose. Right. If you go belatedly and take an injunction against the conference center, well, he and his client have nothing to do with it. As far as they know, they have a contract and a valid contract. Exactly. If the conference center center stops them, they will be in breach of that contract. But the important matter now,
so yeah, I was coming to that. The Supreme Court that Justice Derry and his team are seeking to go, what are they going to seek?
What they are simply saying is that Article 1468 of the 1992 Constitution says that if you institute disciplinary measures or proceedings against a high court judge, those hearings should be done in camera. Right. Now, his argument in one of the writs, he argues that the evidence that is going to be used against him should also be in secret. That evidence cannot be put publicly. Now, what they are going to argue is that Anas has, by screening this video, violated that constitutional provision, because there's a burden on him not to make. Remember that he's a petitioner in this case. Exactly. He petitioned the president to remove a number of judges because of alleged acts of corruption. Exactly. If you petition the president and go and make the evidence available to the public, when the Constitution says that any impeachment proceedings instituted against a high court judge must be done in camera, i.e., it must be done in secret. Exactly. It must not be open to the public. So why should the evidence then be made available to the public? So he is arguing that Anas has breached this constitutional provision, and to that extent he is going to the Supreme Court to ask the Supreme Court to declare the petition filed against him and the others by Anas as null and void. And he's relying on Chum versus Attorney General. Not too long ago, Bright Akweti brought an issue. He brought a case in court against the Chief Justice at the time, Justice George Kingsley Akwa. He wanted to remove the Chief Justice for alleged acts of impropriety. Now, his petition to the president was leaked to the media. When it was leaked to the media, a citizen, Chum, he went to court and sued the Attorney General, and he wanted a constitutional interpretation. We know that the Supreme Court, the highest court of the land, has the mandate to interpret the Constitution. He wanted a constitutional interpretation, whether by leaking the petition filed to the president to the media, that constitutional provision in Article 1468 had not been breached. The Supreme Court unanimously, and by unanimously all the judges agreed that the constitutional provision had been breached, and to that extent the case could not be made. Even though the court stressed that it could not link Bright Akweti to the leaking of the petition, it nonetheless held that to the extent that the petition had been leaked to the media, it was in violation of Article 1468, and to that extent the case was thrown out.
And so that's the basis on which Justice Derry is allowing Anas.
Absolutely. So that's what the lawyers want to do. They want to go up to the highest court of the land and say that, look, this is a constitutional provision. You yourself decided on this case. It is, however, important to note that even though this is a case that was decided by the Supreme Court is a court that is allowed to depart from its own decided cases.
So
and the lawyers...
what I was going to ask is that you have been speaking with some lawyers, and so what have they been telling you? Will this make any difference? That, okay, they've been cited in the video, all right, but it's a violation to the Constitution because your evidence cannot be shown to the public and at the same time brought before court and say, I want these people dismissed. So will there, I mean,
but it's important to remember that the persons to whom Anas is screening this video are not the person whose responsibility it is to determine whether there's a prima facie case against the judges or not. The persons whose responsibility it is to do so have been duly empaneled, and Anas has given them his evidence. He's given them his petition. They are dealing with it. Anas is a journalist. His job is protected by a whole chapter in the Constitution, Chapter 12 of the 1992 Constitution, guarantees media freedom. Anas has freedom to do what he wants to do. His job is to inform the public, to educate them. When he set out to do this investigation, his primary concern was to inform the Ghanaian public that these are the things that are happening in the hands of the people that you have chosen to act as God. It's getting quite
interesting, but let me hold you on and go straight to the conference center where our man Manasseh Azore is there. He's been monitoring events there. Hello, Manasseh.
Hello.
We know the conference center earlier was choked with a lot of people who really want to catch a glimpse of the video. What more can you tell us, Manasseh?
Well, I can see the patrons are really enjoying themselves here at the conference center. We have been viewing for a little over an hour now. We've seen quite a number of the judges. We've seen money exchanging hands at the Accra Mall, at the courtrooms, in their houses. And basically, the most interesting aspect is sometimes some comments that judges make, and the fact that some actually appeared bare-chested because they were vested in their homes and they were not wearing anything. So I can say quite interesting revelations are happening here. It's one thing reading the transcripts and another thing seeing it happen live.
And so what are you gathering from the people watching the video?
The people watching the video, I have spoken to a few of them, and they have expressed shock that these are people they held in high esteem. You appear in court and you're extremely careful, even you don't cough anyhow, but these are the people who we see reduced to practically nothing, and it's quite dehumanizing seeing the people reveal so much in society doing what they're doing on camera.
Earlier, we saw some security men or personnel screening the viewers. What can you say about security?
Well, I can say security is very tight here. We have this private security personnel and also officials from the Ghana Police Service. There are also some plainclothes security officials. So basically, security is quite tight and everything is going on very orderly.
Well, many thanks to you, Manasseh. We really appreciate your time on today's big story. Back to you, Malik. Anas is a journalist, like you said earlier on, and his prime aim for conducting this investigation is to inform the public. So where would he go wrong? Can he also, speaking to the lawyers, would he have a case to actually go defy all odds and show this to the public?
Let's be careful not to go into the merits of any case. Of course, they have not filed their case yet, but the reality is that to the extent that Anas has a constitutional obligation to inform the public, he equally has a duty to let the public know that this is what he found out when he set out to look at the people, put the microscope on the people who have been mandated by law to play God, because they are the only people, judges are the only people who determine whether a person should sleep in their own house or should go and sleep somewhere. Okay. To that extent, if Anas found out that these people have conducted themselves in a manner that is a betrayal, as Asantehene said, of the trust of the people, he has a duty to make that information available to the people. Remember that the judges act on behalf of the people because justice emanates from the people.
Well, many thanks to you, Malik Dabo. In the studio with me also is lawyer Frank Davis, his former president of the Ghana Bar Association, immediate past president. Welcome to the show. Thank you. You came a bit late, but it's good having you in the studio. So this morning a lot has happened in court, and we've seen Justice Derry and his team withdrawing an injunction on premiering the video that exposed some judges, you know, receiving bribes. A lot of things have happened. We just want an interpretation briefly on what has happened and how that will affect what Anas is looking for.
Thank you, and good evening to your cherished viewers. I don't know what particular point you want me to explain. Is it the withdrawal of the injunction?
Withdrawal of injunction, and then now conference center has been served with another injunction not to allow the premiering, but we're also not forgetting the fact that there is a contract between Anas and the conference center already. And then there's the latest that the judges are saying that, or Justice Derry and his team are saying they will be going to the Supreme Court to file a fresh case because they're just allowing this to air so that they can have a better case.
Yeah, thank you. I really don't want to pronounce on the merits of the respective applications, but it would seem as if the whole thing is now becoming more confusing than we thought.
Right.
And it's leading to, with the greatest respect to, it's like forum shopping. You go to one court, and just when the application is being heard or is about to be heard, you withdraw the application. What I understood it from the beginning to mean was that they wanted an injunction to restrain the video from being shown. That was the text of the application, in my limited understanding. Right. That application was withdrawn this morning.
Okay.
So far as where I stand as a lawyer, if that application for injunction is withdrawn, then there is nothing preventing the International Conference Center from viewing the film. I don't know what other application they have served.
That's why
on them.
By withdrawing ANAS's issue for not premiering the video, they've also served an injunction to the conference and not to allow themselves to be venue for the premiering.
You see,
that is what they have done.
Like I said, I wouldn't want to go into the merits, but I don't know what specific application they have against the International Conference Center. You see, the wording of an application can change what the applicant is looking for.
Exactly.
So until I see the full heading, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know what exactly they are seeking from the International Conference Center. But the International Conference Center also has lawyers. I'm sure in all this they also have lawyers, and their lawyers are advising them as to what to do. To the extent that they have gone ahead to screen the video, that people are queuing to go and watch it, to the extent that they have gone ahead and screened, it means that they've also been advised by their lawyers, and their lawyers have told them that they can willingly go on and show, allow Tiger Eye to show or air the film despite the injunction application.
And they can also have a case in court.
Definitely.
Probably.
Definitely.
But more interesting is the fact that they are saying now, and they're basing their case on one case, I think it happened in around 5 years ago or something, Chum and the Attorney General, saying that if they allow ANAS to air this video, they would rather have a better case at the Supreme Court. I mean, explaining that the evidence that ANAS is tendering in to ask the president or the Chief Justice to demote all of them is now being shown to the public, so ANAS has no case. What are the implications? You
see, it's one. You see, when matters are before court, for trained lawyers, it's quite not too good trying to comment on the merits of that. But let's try and get this. You see, cases are determined differently and separated. You see, the Supreme Court is not bound by its own decisions.
Right.
The Supreme Court can give a decision on a matter today.
Okay.
Tomorrow, that same matter comes up. A different panel of the Supreme Court sits and they deal with it differently. It happens in our case law.
But what does the law say?
The law says that if you are going to commence or if you're going to undertake impeachment proceedings against a certain justice of the Superior Court of Judicature, those proceedings should be held in camera. That is what the clear dictates of the Constitution says. They should be held in camera. You see, but one should not lose sight of the fact that this video was screened before Her Ladyship the Chief Justice, the Honorable Lady Chief Justice, and members of the Judicial Council who are also, and the Judicial Council, some of whom are also senior members of the Supreme Court.
Right.
And when it got to the aspect where the video should be aired or viewed, they put an ask to his election. That he can either decide on his own volition not to screen or to screen.
So now that he has decided,
so he has decided to screen.
Like you rightly said earlier, he maybe have. I mean, he might have been advised by his also
definitely. He is also a lawyer, but in the fact that ANAS is also a lawyer. No matter how junior he is, he's also a lawyer. So
that's where
I mean, one will have to be careful how we
handle
these
issue.
things.
But it's getting very interesting. We'll wait till tomorrow and see what unfolds. That's where time will allow us. Many thanks to you, Frank Davis, for coming on today's big story. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Good evening.